floor is yours.
Thank you. And thank you for your strong opening statements, Mr. Green. And I'd just like to start out by saying you live and die and have lived experience of these mandates. And so I would qualify you as the expert in this space. And I also have a large family-owned dealership in my riding, and I've spent lots of time having conversations with them in Newfoundland and Labrador. So much to unpack. But I just wanted to break down and give you some more opportunities to expand on some of the things that you said. Family-owned dealerships often operate on tight margins, and they are deeply rooted in their communities. You mentioned in your opening statements about your $200,000 investment in upgrades and only selling 3 units in 3 years. How does this top-down approach and costly requirements place additional pressure, financial pressure on you? And so I want you to expand on that a little bit, and also specifically your competitiveness with, say, dealerships in more urban areas and the unique challenges that you have in a rural, having a dealership in a rural area.
Thank you very much. In a small town, I meet with my customers day in and day out, and they sit with me and they tell me, hey, they don't have the capital to buy these things. With investing in my facility, I did it out of the fear that I might lose my franchise. I didn't do it because I thought it would be profitable. And at the end of the day, I am a for-profit business. So I looked at it and said, okay, if I have to do this, then I will. If it can increase my marginal sales, then great. But the reality of it is, when General Motors came out, because they're losing so much money, they made cost and invoice the same. There's no advantage to come to my store as opposed to another store. I paid the same price that I sold it to you for. And if I was a good gentleman and met all of my compliances, then they would send me a token amount of profit at the end of the day, which wasn't enough to sustain myself. I had to pay interest on these units to have them sit here on my lot for 6, 8, 9 months, far exceeding the profit potential that I could ever make on these. The capital investment for my store was large. For big city stores, it's massive. Like the power changes, the transformer changes, digging up my lot to put transformers in. I didn't have to buy a gas station to sell gas-powered vehicles. Why did I have to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to put in charging? I did not put my chargers as forward-facing. I did want the traffic and that to come here because there's not any profit in selling the power and the electricity. That's why the free market has not put these things everywhere. In my town, there's a flow charger. It's been disabled and now abandoned after it was broken for like a year or two, but still showed on the map. Everybody came with their EV, tried to charge there. It was broken. No gas station attendant. Who do you call? Nobody. They don't care. So there's so many realities that we're not facing. I appreciate all the other panelists. And yes, we can say all these great latitudinal things, but when it boils down to rubber meeting the road, do customers want them? Not yet, but maybe. So let's keep pursuing it. I'm not saying abandon it, but don't force it. Don't try to make something happen that the free market is not willing to happen. The free market goes on profit. And if there isn't profit and it's not reliable and it's not there, then the free market's not going to run with it. We'll get there slowly. Keep pushing, keep going. Maybe electricity isn't the right choice. Maybe it'll be hydrogen. Maybe wind powered. I'm game for that. I want to see advancements. I want to see our industry lead. But I do not want to be forced, bullied, or coerced to sell something that my consumers do not want to buy. They can't. They drive 300-400 kilometers on a cold day on a gravel road with winter tires on a pickup truck. They're not getting home. They go to the hospital in High River. There's no charger there. There's no charger in the neighboring town. It shows there's one on the map, but it's been abandoned. It's no longer there. Shows my charger there. You can't use my charger because I didn't make it forward facing. And there's reasons for that. I can share why. My neighboring colleague did, and somebody drove away with his plugged in. Cost him $6,000 to replace that charging cord on a quick charger rather than $200 if you drive away from the pump with it still into your gas-powered vehicle. I can't absorb that. I can't recoup that. So it's nice to speak in platitudes. It's nice to think green and go there. I get it. I'm with you. but you can't force it, and you're trying to go way too fast because the free market is not getting there, and they're not ready to get there yet. So
thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate all your comments, and I'm picking up on your passion, and I appreciate that as a small business owner myself. And you touched on something that I also hear, and it's also this idea of it being a mandate. And so, that has implications as far as your business is concerned. I've heard from other dealers as well that it's counterintuitive from the consumer perspective as well. Do you think that Canadians appreciate sort of being told what type of vehicle to drive?
Well, a recent poll done by Automotive News said 59% of Canadians oppose a federal EV mandate. So, yeah, we've got lots of free-loving, free enterprise people here. And no, they don't want to be told. They want to be given choice. The reason we don't have the choice like China and the other places is because we've got way different standards. Like, I don't want a $10,000 EV that's going to catch fire. Where do you charge your vehicle? Supposedly at home. When does it catch on fire? When you're charging it potentially in your home, in your garage. So there has to be a level of standard that maybe other countries don't want to comply to. That's fine. That's their prerogative. We set ours. We've got to meet them. And that's why they're not quite as affordable as other places around the world. But yes, people are pushing back to being told what they have to buy. Give them choice. Give them affordable choice, but you can't mandate it. If the manufacturer can't make money, they're not in business.
Thank you, Mr. Green. Thank you.
Thank
Time
you.
is up.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, witnesses. I appreciate you being here today. Mr. Green, you mentioned rural customers aren't purchasing EVs because they don't suit their work or lifestyle needs. There's a disparity between, the use case between urban livers and people live in urban environments and rural people. Particularly farmers, tradespeople, ranchers, and that's your hometown. What would be your estimate on what is the split of vehicle sales between people buying for pleasure, for commuting, or for work trades?
Oh, gosh, that's a great question. I would say probably 50-50. I mean, depending on, you've got two vehicles in your home. One's going to be, probably for more pleasure, and one's going to be for more work. You've got a pickup truck, and then maybe you've got a crossover SUV. So it's a 50-50. Mr. Bexty, if I could just take 30 seconds. We do make an affordable car at $28,000. It is a gas-powered vehicle, just so we're on the record.
Peace. But I'll try and I'll let you
and General Motors sales did drop.
Material later.
Sure.
I wanted you to comment about did we lose the link? Okay, you're still there. Thank you.
No,
I wanted you to comment on the suitability of, the gas-powered vehicles or diesel-powered vehicles for the work use case.
Sure.
There are no EV or hybrid or any alternatives available.
Well, I mean, for a farmer that's got a truck, he's got to, pull his trailer, or a tradesperson. When you have a Silverado half-ton, it's great, it's nice, but it doesn't have the same capacity to do the job, and the range isn't there when you start pulling trailers and doing utility and doing work with it. You can drive around, you can get to where you want to go. It's a massive battery, it's a heavyweight vehicle. Is it something that people are saying, hey, I want to use this for work capacity? No, they're not. It's, $120,000 Sierra Denali, sure. $183,000 Hummer truck, okay. But the tradesperson's not buying that. They can't afford that. They know it doesn't work for them. They know it won't pull their trailer in the wintertime with range.
It's not fit for purpose. I mean, we're hearing, if you take a lot of the testimony together, we're hearing that no one's buying EVs en masse without policy incentives and subsidies. And we have an $80 billion deficit this year projected from this new government, old government. And it infers that there's nothing available in the market that's fit for purpose. Would you concur with that?
I guess, yeah, probably true. Do I fully understand how you're asking it? No.
Okay. I mean, what I'm suggesting is that there's no EV alternative. There's no fit-for-purpose EV available, or even projected to be available, that suits the tradespeople and the farmers, the ranchers, the people that are using their vehicles to actually do work and not just cruise from A to B.
Well, yeah, General Motors first announced this Chevy Silverado was going to be priced at $60,000. I took orders for them. We then found out it was going to be $95,000 because they couldn't be profitable, produced at 60 grand. They had high hopes, but you guys are forgetting the profitability factor to the colleagues in that if you can't be profitable, you don't produce. And so there is not an affordable alternative for the tradesperson other than a very expensive truck that doesn't get the job done, period.
So once again, we're seeing that mandates result in purpose that don't match the implementation, and there's a mismatch.
100%.
Mr. Green, you mentioned investing over $200,000 to sell EVs and losing $10,000. In your view, what does that say about the government's understanding of the affordability and the market readiness for electric vehicles in Canada?
Your colleagues talked about misinformation, and a lot of what they've said is somewhat factual, but it's also misrepresentation as well. The market is not ready for it. If the free market was ready for it and it was the best technology at the best prices, it would champion the market and we would rock and roll with it, and I'd be all on board. But when I can't make a profit and nobody's asking and nobody's demanding, even Quebec dealers saw massive drops when the subsidization stopped, the tap turned off in BC and Quebec. General Motors knows it. We just went to conference on it, and we're reducing production on the Equinox. It's too expensive. We're going to try to regroup with a Chevy Bolt, less expensive, trying to bring more market products available at a price that's affordable. It's hard in the market when battery prices and everything is a huge component, and we just can't get there and be profitable. So you can demand something, but at the end of the day, if can't make it profitable.
One short question. Would you say your dealership is typical of Southern Alberta, Canadian Prairie dealerships?
Very short answer.
Absolutely. Even the big metro stores. We talk with them all the time. They've got an EV that's been there a year and a half on their lot.
Mr. Green.
Thank you, Mr. Green.
Thank you. And Ms. Coerced, I've heard the comments about making more lower price models available in Canada, and that would encourage EV sales. And most of the world is acknowledging that lower price model comes from China. The European Union is seeing a surge in Chinese EVs being employed in Europe, for example, and Europe is starting to employ tariffs and subsidies to domestic manufacturers to compete with the Chinese EVs. Should Canada be encouraging more Chinese EVs as a lower price model here in Canada?
As Canada explores other ways to bring more affordable models to the Canadian market, it's an option. In the EU has placed tariffs on Chinese-made EVs. They range from 8 to 35%. And Chinese EVs have come into the EU and are popular with buyers, but not as popular as you think.
Should Canada encourage Chinese EVs to be allowed in Canada without 100% tariff, as we're currently seeing?
It's definitely an option to consider. It would not only directly offer more affordable models to Canadians coming from China, but it would also stimulate competition here in Canada, which is what we're seeing in the EU, where 10 of those 21 affordable models available in the EU are being produced by domestic EU car makers.
Okay, so Canada's got a lot to consider, especially the tariffs they're imposing on Chinese EVs to be in line with U.S. policy. But should we be considering the security concerns that other countries have had with Chinese EVs when we're talking about bringing in Chinese EVs to Canada?
I think there's a lot of considerations that Canada wants to look at if we make that decision, some related to cybersecurity, some related to potentially labor standards, maybe putting conditions on lower tariffs based on attracting investment from Chinese battery or automakers here and employing Canadian workers, purchasing Canadian critical minerals. There's a lot of ways that we could structure that agreement that would ensure it benefits Canadian consumers.
You actually led into my next question. The reason for lower price models is basically because of their cost structure that Canada doesn't have. Does your organization look into the different standards that Chinese EV makers have, for instance, that Canada doesn't have? And I'm really talking about environmental standards that Chinese manufacturers don't have, and labor standards that Chinese manufacturers don't have as opposed to Canadians. Does your institute look into that?
So the cost competitiveness of Chinese-made EVs are due to decades of investment. They are so far ahead of American automakers in driving down battery costs.
No, not talking about that. I'm talking about the lack of environmental standards and the lack of employment standards in a place like China as opposed to Canada.
Have we looked at that? Yes, there are ways that we could structure deals that impose labor standards or environmental standards. And again, the EU has done this. They're introducing a labor regulation that would apply to any Chinese-made EVs coming in. They have battery regulations that sets thresholds of what carbon footprints must be for the batteries that go into the vehicles that sell and how responsibly produced the critical minerals are.
Okay, staying on the critical minerals topic, First Nation leaders don't have the luxury of just focusing in on air impacts. We've got to look at air, land, and water. Has your organization looked into the impacts of the sourcing of the critical minerals, not only in Canada, but across the world?
We haven't done an extensive analysis of the impacts there, but what the global analysis that I've seen is that electric vehicles are more environmentally friendly.
No, not talking about that. I'm talking about the impact on land specifically, especially in a place like a Congo, where child labor is being used. Has your institute considered that in factoring in whether or not Canada should be sourcing critical minerals or EVs from these types of countries?
Absolutely, and we support Canada producing critical minerals here to put into the electric vehicles that are being made in Canada and North America and the world, which are more responsibly produced. But car makers are also innovating away from some of those critical minerals that are dominated by certain parts of the world, like the DRC, that have lower standards, and instead focusing on...
Thank you. Mr. Green, we heard some shocking numbers the other day that tariffs continue with the United States. Projected job loss could be 60,000. Then we heard another number that if we continue down this EV mandate and we force out the existing manufacturers, 137 jobs could be lost. And if you times that by an average, say 50,000.
Thank you, Mr. Ross. Sorry about that. I'm sorry.
Yep, no problem.
Mr. Fan.